Hi everyone, just want to give a quick update here. It's almost 5 p.m. In California, and I wanted to sort of just update you on where the numbers stand right now. And I'll probably do this week since we're getting to the close to the end of DV2024. Let me just show you my screen, and I'll show you some data here. So first thing to show you would be in the background here. This is the position as we stood on Friday night. And on Friday night, we had 52,295 visas issued, 157 in AP, administrative processing. And so, we would add those two numbers together, which would give us 52,815. That was the position as of Friday night, right? And so the position now, if we just look at the photo, as of this afternoon, Sarthisius has kindly extracted the data again for us. So we've got a daily number here. So we've got 52,639 issued and 176 in AP. So you can see the difference in the numbers there. It's gone up. Obviously, there's been more issuances over the weekend and today. The difference between the numbers is 363 over the weekend since Friday, and the total number is. Oh, I'm sorry, I gave you the numbers wrong. So 52,452 was where we stood on Friday night, and today we're at 52,815. Right. On top of that, we have to, maybe we don't, but we should account for the adjustment of status cases. And I'm kind of wryly smiling because we know there are over 1,000 visas that have been issued through adjustment of status. So in theory, that should mean we're at 53,815, nearly 54,000. And we know that the maximum number of visas that can be issued is 54,847, thereabouts. I think that's right, 54,847. And so we've got less than 1,000 left at this point, if you count the adjustment of status. I smiled wryly because I'm not 100% convinced that that KCC and the visa office will stop at a point that adds in those adjustment of status cases. In DV 2023, they continued until SEAC actually hit the 55,000 number. They pretended like adjustment of status didn't exist. Now, I know that they're getting pretty much a daily or every couple of days update on adjustment of status numbers from USCIS, so they know the data. But whether they choose to stop on the dime or not, to stop exactly at the point where they should stop and take those adjustment status cases into account or not, we don't know. But part of the reason that that I wanted to jump on this evening was because a few days ago, Curtis had reported that in one of the lawsuits, the lawyers acting for the government had said that they were targeting to finish the program on the 23rd, meaning today. And it's 5 p.m. California time. There's been no announcement of them stopping the process. I'm checking periodically the place where they would publish such an announcement. There's been no information that's come back from any embassy in the world to say the program has finished and that people are being turned away at the doors. And we know that we had at least 1,000 visas left at this point. So it seems like it will continue into tomorrow, which will be a relief for some of you that have got appointments still to happen later on this week, perhaps. We live at least until tomorrow, I would suspect. And given that they just issued 363 over the weekend, and some embassies work over the weekend, right? And by the end of Monday, it's not like they're going full blast, right? We can see that the 221G number has reduced quite significantly, right, from 2924 or from 3179 down to 2924, so about 250. So basically what they're doing at the moment, and some of those would have gone to refused, and you can see the refused number has increased by some number. But what's happening at the moment is that they're mainly not dealing with new interviews, but they're clearing and still working on some of the 221G cases. And that's where the majority of the 363 visas that have been issued will have come from over this last few days. So at what speed can they clear those 221G cases? There could be a big batch, for all I know. There could be a big batch just waiting to be cleared in some embassy. I don't know, right? I'm just purely speculating on that. But is it likely that they're going to finish the 1,000, issue another 1,000 visas tomorrow? I don't think that's very likely. So I think that we'll probably see the program go until Wednesday at the earliest. And perhaps we'll see Thursday, maybe even Friday. I'm not quite sure that we'll see Friday, but maybe there'll still be visas for Friday. Now, I know of at least one adjustment of status case that has a 26th date, which I think is Thursday. And so that case, might be okay. We have to wait and see for that particular one and keep our fingers crossed for that particular case. So that's pretty much what I wanted to let you know. 1,000 left. I can't predict exactly how quickly they'll use them, but I don't think they'll finish the program tomorrow. And the other thing is, of course, by the way, I should sort of preface this. I should sort of warn you that they could arbitrarily stop early. There's no law that says they have to use all of the visas. They could stop early. And for out of the last 25 years, let's say, of the program, they've stopped early 22 years out of those 25. Okay, so it's only the last 2 years and one very early year, I think, that went over the 55,000. So stopping early is the norm. Okay, so we can't be totally sure they won't stop early this time, even though the last 2 years they obviously pushed things as much as possible. And I think, by the way, the reason that things changed in the last 2 years was because of the lawsuits of 2020 and 21. That's what's causing them to push more for all the visas, because they don't want to get sued again. And so the lawsuits have had that lasting effect, at least for the time being. It seems the government want to not get sued, and therefore they're issuing as many visas as possible. So let's not underestimate that. Okay, so that's all I really wanted to say. Let me quickly scan through the messages here. I don't want to take a bunch of questions. I'm kind of still working, so I need to focus on my day job, but I did want to just talk about this. Okay, so let me see. Visa. Good news from King Fahad. I mean, are you going to have to renounce your title now, because you can't be a king in America? But anyway, good luck. I'm very glad that you got your visa approved. Well done. AF 118K. So awesome. Let's see. This is a good question. Let me answer this question. Does the 2NL problem with no interviews create a problem for higher numbers like EU32K? To be clear, it is not true to say for DV25 that there are no interviews scheduled. There are interviews scheduled in October and November. We know that for a fact, right? There will be plenty of people. There will be people that will miss their interview in October and November because of the technical problem that's happened. There will be people that turn up for their interview, but they weren't able to get their medical done. There will be other people that turn up for their interview and have their medical and will be approved in the normal way. So what's going to happen is it will slow down the early part of the year, but the early part of the year doesn't matter a damn anyway, because there's a full 12 months. It's very unlikely for this technical problem to have lasting impact all the way through that 12 months. If they're a bit slow in October, it's not such a big deal. If they're a bit slow in November, it's not such a big deal. and I'm frankly pretty confident that they're going to have this fixed over the next few days. I would not be at all surprised if we see this fixed by the end of this week or next week. And so, I think people freaking out as they are about, it's, I've got my interview on November the 7th and I haven't had my 2NL, and oh my God, the sky is falling. Like, just relax, chill out. You're going to have your 2NL before then. Okay. You're going to have the official notification before then. But anyway, all right, let's just see. Oh, wow. A DV2024 candidate here from Ethiopia. So one of the last people who got interviewed on the last date of the calendar, September 16th. I think, yeah, I mean, that's awesome. Well done. Let's see. Any chance for 2025 OC 2690? That's a higher number in 25 than 2690 was in DV24. In DV24, they went current to 2700. And if you look at the numbers here, let me just show you this again. If you look at the numbers they've issued for OC, although the numbers are not going up very much, 1087, that hasn't increased at all today. And okay, it's just 5 in the AP. So 1087 is higher than they should have gone to. So 2699 or 2700, which is really what the VB said. The VB said 2700 for OC in DV24. That means the highest case number that could have been interviewed is 2699, and I think actually that one was interviewed at Suva. But that is higher than they should have gone, as you can see in the data here. And the same number in DV25 is higher, comparatively speaking. You've got more people in front of you, essentially, at 2690. You've got more people in front of you. So, and by the way, there's less visas available in DV 2025. So if I had to give you a really honest answer, I would say that you're probably at risk on your case number, Semi. I think you're pretty much, you're definitely at risk, put it like that. I mean, obviously we don't really know what's going to happen. There could be, there could be some reason why, for example, Fiji doesn't issue as many visas in 25 for some reason, and that would help you if you're somewhere else in OC. But anyway, there you go. All right, quick. Peter, yeah, hi Peter. Sydney Post, yeah, you almost don't need to introduce yourself. One of the factors that your brother, that you, brother, are most important in determining a state in which to set oneself up. Job market, obviously, budget, what other factors? Peter, I think so this is an interesting question. I've got a few minutes to talk to you. It's an interesting question. So there are a bunch of factors that you should take into account. I was having an interesting sort of mini argument with someone the other day who is fed up with living in Canada and is now choosing a state to live in America. And it's a perfectly valid sort of question. If you don't have family in America, for example, and you don't have a job that takes you to a particular zone of America, then you could live anywhere, right? And then you start taking into account, okay, what sort of activities do I like? Am I interested in outdoors adventures? In which case, go and move to Colorado or something, or Montana. Am I interested in the big cities? New York, Chicago, LA, those sort of big cities which are 24/7 cities that have amazing sort of buzz about them. But there's a downside with that buzz, right? There's both sides. Is the weather important to you? Is it important you have year-round good weather? Do you actually like cold weather? You can find anything. Are you a mountain climber? Are you a cyclist? Those sort of pastimes sort of factor into it. There's a bunch of things that you should consider. Obviously, the economy in each area is important. And if you're a parent, I would say education needs to be important. If you're a parent and you move to Alabama or something, you need your head testing, right? Because, well, frankly, if you move to Alabama, and I know there is at least one of my viewers who moved to Alabama, I'm sorry, but if you move to some of these dopey states where there's just nothing but dopey people there, I don't understand that decision, so I can't really sort of advise you, unless you want to be the tall poppy in a field full of low-lying flowers. If that was your strategy, that makes sense. But there are states where I don't know why you would consider. I wouldn't move, for example, if I was from Africa, black skin from Africa, for example. Or certain other ethnic populations. I don't understand why you would move to the south of America, the southern states where racism was still a thing 60 years ago. I mean, institutionalized racism was still a thing. I mean, racism is a thing still today, but only 60, 70 years ago there was segregation in the parts of the Deep South, and it's within living memory of people when. When colored people, black people, coloreds as they were called in those days, were not allowed to go to public schools, or had to sit on a different part of the bus, or were not welcome in certain areas to use, water fountains or whatever. I mean, deeply, deeply, seriously fucked up racist perspectives in living memory of people alive today. And so those people that are alive today that remember how things were, some of those people are, still around to educate some of the younger folk today. And I don't know why you would go there, frankly. If you're from any of those ethnic races. And I think actually that's probably an eye-opening statement for people from Africa, for example. Dark-skinned people from Africa probably are not used to being the minority. And it is a consideration. Similarly, if you're if you're LGBTQ plus, you probably don't want to go to the southern states either. You probably want to be in a more sort of forward-thinking area. There's those sort of issues to consider. If you've got daughters, or if you care about women's rights, you probably don't want to go to some of these states that are, attacking women's rights. There's all sorts of things, Peter, that come to mind when I think, how would I choose a state? For me, I had property, I had experience, and I had property investments in Florida. I could have lived in Florida, but politically it wasn't very interesting to me. And it also is kind of a boring state in terms of its geography. It's all flat, and it's not very interesting. It's large parts of it are just converted swampland. You can be, in California, and you can have some amazing, amazing geography. Oregon and some of the coastal areas are beautiful places to be. There's something for everybody here. No matter who you are, no matter who you love, no matter what sort of job you want to do, there are places in America that you can do all that. So choose wisely is all I would say. Make it a deliberate choice. Don't just end up somewhere because your mate said, "Oh yeah, go to this area because it's great." All right, let's see. I think that's probably about the. I think that's probably about the majority of the questions that I wanted to answer. I think that's probably covered it. Okay, good. That's interesting. Where have I gone? I'm just wondering if I somehow dropped out because I stopped getting comments and I couldn't see myself. But anyway, Google Selma, Alabama. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just a couple of comments here. John is saying lots of opportunities in Dallas, Texas. That's true. Lots of rednecks in Dallas, Texas as well. if you want a slightly more, if you're interested in technology, for example, Austin would be a little bit better. Houston's pretty nice too, and if you're an astronaut, maybe you should be in Houston. But Houston's nearer the coast. But Houston's kind of an interesting place to be. But Texas in general, I think in general, a lot of these states, they're pretty good around the cities. They're pretty awful. Some of the states are pretty awful once you get into the quieter, more rural areas. And that's kind of a clue wherever you are in America. If you go into the rural areas, you're going to find a lot more sort of backwards thinking in things. So anyway, there you go. All right, everybody. I hope the update was interesting to you. I may do a quick update over the next couple of days as well as we see these numbers coming together. Okay. All right, everybody. Have a good night. Bye-bye.